Hi everyone, Kelt here, bringing you my thoughts on the British royal family, and today I'll be talking about Prince Andrew and the alleged spy scandal, which is very much in the news. Who would have thought a prince of the realm, the grand old Duke of York, actually being also outed as well as an alleged spy? On Friday we had breaking news that one of Andrew's best mates had been unmasked as an alleged Chinese spy and managed to not only be part of the royal circle, but was able to have access to the House of Windsor. Andrew has now said that he has ceased all contact with this businessman who is being accused of being a Chinese spy. Haven't we heard all of this before? Very reminiscent of when he said he had cut contact with Epstein, but he did go and see him, as he had said that he wanted to end the contact and needed to actually see him in person to do this. So does this mean that he's very likely to continue this relationship, but not publicly? This friend of Andrew's, known as H6, and whose name we now know to be Yang Tenbo, has been banned from entry into the UK due to national security concerns. So Prince Andrew has become the royal family's version of Hunter Biden. This is obviously where his money has been coming from. Just my opinion. This is why he's been able to live the sort of lifestyle he has. It has not just been King Charles who has been funding him. It's being said that his mother, the late Queen, must have known the details of this because Andrew was her favourite son and consulted her about everything. And the royals are now trying to act as if they have nothing to do with this. This alleged spy attended Andrew's birthday party and was also authorised to represent him in dealing with Chinese partners. The government believed the man to be linked to a Chinese Communist Party organisation specifically used for political interference. And this alleged spy was also friends with former UK leaders David Cameron and Theresa May. So why not address that? Andrew's office have said that not only were all ties cut following government advice, but that no sensitive information was shared. Do we believe this? I wonder, did he rub shoulders with Andrew's wife Sarah? You know, the one who tried to sell her husband, or rather access to her husband, for a lot of money. I've always said this big stuff coming is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more, and there's a lot more to Andrew's story. Many seem to forget about a certain crime beginning with T, which, if Theresa May and David Cameron connected to the spy, as was Andrew, they would all allegedly be guilty of the big T word. And the punishment for that crime is extremely harsh. Quite interesting that the judge who ruled that Donald Trump defamed E. Jean Carroll and ordered him to pay $83 million in damages is identified as the very same judge who dismissed charges of sexual abuse of a minor against Prince Andrew. So it seems to be very, very biased. This was reported months ago and it's now getting much more attention. The same judge covered up other Epstein stuff as well. So, like I said before, quite often, even with the things with Harry and Meghan, different members of the royal family, look at what it's pointing to. Look at the people around them. You know, when Harry and Meghan went to the different countries, just look at the leaders that they rubbed shoulders with. A lot of things have come to the surface. Sir Ian Duncan Smith said that China is a very severe threat and called the allegations the tip of the iceberg. He said that he believed there are many more people like H6 operating in the UK. He said that there's many of them doing that same job that he had been doing, and that the fact that he was leaving the UK tells us that he realised at some point he was going to get caught. Sir Ian said, and I quote, The reality is that there are many, many more involved in exactly this kind of espionage that's taking place. The reality for us is very simple. It's a very clear threat, end quote. If it's not Russia, it's always China that's being classed as a threat. Also, why is it not being mentioned that it was David Cameron who introduced this Chinese guy to Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew, I don't believe, is totally innocent of things, but he is definitely being used as a scapegoat, I think, in many ways, especially as regard the royals. When you think about King Charles's relationship with Jimmy Savile, the paedophile who died before all his crimes came to surface, who the BBC knew about, but there are a lot of people that do say that, oh, King Charles, when he was Prince Charles and knew him and was friends with him, he didn't know anything about his crimes or the things that he was doing. I don't think somebody could spend that much time. And also, don't forget that many people are saying King Charles wasn't a close friend of his. It was just, he only knew him because of charity work. Not true. King Charles went to his place, his small cottage, and stayed with him. He had meals with him. He went hunting with him. He had him in his private office preparing speeches for him. That's how close they were. Charles would contact him about any problem. He would phone him about any advice that he needed for anything. That's almost looking at him almost like a father figure. What is the future King of England doing when he was a prince? What was he thinking? Contacting somebody like Jimmy Savile to write speeches for him and to give him important information and to give him free reign of the palace. What did Jimmy Savile have on him or the royals? And it was said that Jimmy Savile procured underage children and brought them to the palace for Prince Philip. Jimmy Savile said this himself with his own mouth. There was a recording of it. I think it was an old video where he was bragging, and I'm not sure if it was one of the documentaries. It was somewhere that I saw this. I know that many of you have seen this and heard this, but he said it with his own mouth. He basically bragged.
This contribution is to be spent on a children's playground in the East End of London. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club.
I'll tell you a very good fix that I did with a young lady at Buckingham Palace. I was at a reception at Buckingham Palace. So I went to see a minder and said, they've got this situation and I'm bringing a friend in. So I said, there's no object for you. So I said, all right. Now, the palace staff are the most excellent people, right? And fantastic. Look, Prince Philip was a marvellous geezer, happened to be just standing inside the door, panicking to somebody. So I went.
It's a prearranged signal, though.
Well, no, there's not a lot of people go inside the palace. So he's from the butcher's, right, like this. See me, and I do the nod, put a killer in. So he doesn't know where this young lady's appeared from, but there's a long coat on the book of jewels, but he has given a beautiful smile, and she's gone, right. That was a fix-it that I really enjoyed, and I think she might remember it, even if the parents and herself are watching tonight, she might even remember it to this day, and I think a lot longer.
What you do in the caravan?
Anybody that can lay my hands on.
What you do in the caravan?
Anybody that can lay my hands on.
So Andrew's not innocent, but he's definitely been used as a scapegoat. And the public most definitely are owed more information, and it will come out. So Prince Andrew has now been urged to stay out of sight after being connected to this guy. This is so ridiculous. What about all the other people that are connected to him? And why wasn't King Charles, when he was Prince Charles, urged to stay out of sight because of his connection to Jimmy Savile? You know? And Andrew's not going to the Sandringham Christmas Day get-together with all his family. It just seems very extreme until there's actual proof of what he's actually done. And now we have this alleged Chinese spy saying that he's done nothing wrong, that yes, he had some connections in certain areas, but that he actually wasn't a spy. He wasn't doing anything wrong, and he didn't release any information. He's been very, very vocal about this. And is he being used as a scapegoat also? That's my question. I think he and Andrew, maybe both of them might be scapegoats. The fact that this alleged spy, Mr. Yang, had volunteered himself to reveal his name speaks volumes, I think. That doesn't sound like a guilty person. And he is actually going to appeal the ruling against him. The tribunal ruled that there was not an abundance of evidence against Mr. Yang in some instances, and said that there may be an innocent explanation in others. But it ultimately decided that there was sufficient material to justify MI5's conclusion that he posed a security risk. And again, the fact that he's appealing it speaks volumes as well. It's also being said that Prince Andrew was in a desperate situation and will grab onto anything. Yeah, we're not likely to forget his disastrous interview previously about his involvement with Epstein. He's not a good liar. I think it's being blown out of all proportion and is a smokescreen for something else. And as far as the Sussex's Christmas card goes, oh gosh, I thought I'd make a mention of this, but it's getting increasingly worse, I think, every year. It's almost as if whatever they take the photos with has less and less quality and totally photoshopped again. The girl, allegedly Lily, looks bigger than her brother, who is years older, and doesn't ring true. The positioning of Meghan's feet, the way she's leaning over, the way Harry looks, the whole thing, the kids showing the backs again, both amazingly redheads, despite genetics saying it should be otherwise. The whole thing, it's become a joke. And the Christmas cards are getting worse. So, yeah, let's have your thoughts on all of this. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.
This contribution is to be spent on a children's playground in the East End of London. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club. All I hope is that the children who play there will have a thought for their sugar daddies here in the Albany Club.
Shall I tell you a very good fix that I did with a young lady at Buckingham Palace? I was at a reception at Buckingham Palace. That's the place where the Queen lives.
I know, they keep the Queen there.
And It's not an easy gaff to penetrate. Very, very...
What's that? That an easy?
It's not an easy place to get into. That's right.
Yeah.
So I was at this reception, and there was a very nice lady and gentleman said to me, my daughter will be so pleased to know that I've met you on this, that, and the other. I said, oh, yes. Where is she? And they said, she's in the back of the car. I said, what, in the boat? And they said, no, we've sneaked her in the back of the car so she can say she's been in the palace courtyard. I said, and you've got her stuck out there? I said, oh, leave it to me. And they went, no, please don't do it in the back. I said, no. So I went to see her minder and said, they've got this situation and I'm bringing a friend in. So I said, there's no other object for you. So I said, all right. Now, the palace staff are the most excellent people, right? On the way out, I explained very briefly what I did. Leave it to us. So I went out into the car park, which is a courtyard inside the palace, and I shouted the young lady's name. Next minute, she's holding my arm, and next minute we're marching up the steps right into the palace. Well, the staff had done it right. The 2 footmen opened the 2 great doors, and inside there were all the majors and the colonels and the household staff. It's a most elegant situation and tremendously rewarding, right? And of course, when she sees this spectacle of the carpet and the people all standing there, and they all give a little graceful dip as she walked by, and she was now hanging on to me like a lifeboat, right? And we walked up the steps and into the room where the reception was, in a room called the Bow Room, and fantastic look. Prince Philip, who was a marvellous geezer, happened to be just standing inside the door, panicking to somebody. So I went.
It's a prearranged signal, though.
Well, no, there's not a lot of people go inside the palace. So he's from the butcher's, right, like this. See me, and I do the knob, put a killer in. So he doesn't know where this young lady's appeared from, but there's a long coat on the book of jewels, but he has given a beautiful smile, and she's gone, right? That was a fix-it that I really enjoyed, and I think she might remember it, even if the parents and herself are watching tonight, she might even remember it to this day, and I think a lot longer.
What you do in the caravan?
Anywhere I can lay my hands on.
What you do in the caravan?
Anywhere I can lay my hands on.